In the moral architecture of a villain, there often exists a foundational stone they believe they cannot cross. For Theo Silverton on Coronation Street, a man for whom emotional manipulation and physical brutality have become tools of domestic craft, that stone was not the abuse of Todd Grimshaw, but the cold-blooded murder of Billy Mayhew. The upcoming scene of Theo's solitary, tear-streaked confession to Billy's coffin is not a moment of redemption, but a window into a far more compelling and dangerous reality: the unraveling of a narcissist under the unique weight of a conscience he never expected to have. This moment of private breakdown, and the chilling sound of a closing door that follows, marks a pivotal turn in a storyline that masterfully explores the volatile intersection of guilt, obsession, and the terrifying psychology of a cornered predator. Billy's death was the ultimate act of coercive control. Theo's split-second decision in the flaming wreckage of the minibus was not one of panicked neglect, but of deliberate, calculated elimination. He didn't merely fail to save Billy. He actively ensured his death. By strapping the unconscious vicar back into his seat, Theo wasn't just killing a man he saw as a rival. He was annihilating the embodiment of Todd's potential salvation, his most credible escape route, and his moral compass. In Theo's warped logic, it was the final, definitive solution to securing total ownership of Todd. As executive producer Kate Brooks articulates, Theo justifies this absolutely despicable act as absolutely necessary to keep hold of Todd. This justification is the core of his pathology. He reframes a heinous crime as a tragic sacrifice made for love. Yet, the aftermath reveals a fascinating crack in this narcissistic armor. While the daily mechanics of coercive control, the surveillance, the humiliation, the violence, seem to cost him no sleep, the act of murder haunts him. This distinction is critically important. His abuse of Todd is, in his mind, a dynamic within a relationship, a series of transactions and corrections to maintain a possession. Murder, however, is a standalone, existential stain. It exists outside the closed loop of Theo and Todd. It is a sin against a universal order, one that even his twisted rationale cannot fully sanitize. His conscience, long dormant, has been shock-awakened by an act of such pure, unambiguous evil that it cannot be rationalized away. The confession scene in the funeral parlor is a masterpiece of dramatic irony and psychological exposure. Alone with the silent, accusing presence of his victim, Theo's carefully constructed facade crumbles. His words are a torrent of self-justification masquerading as apology. "If I had time to think, I would have got Billy out," he pleads to the coffin, attempting to recast a deliberate act as a tragic mistake of circumstance. The most telling line, however, is his desperate redefinition of self. "I'm not a murderer. I'm just someone who maybe loves his partner too much." Here lies the entire tragedy in a single sentence. He is attempting to alchemize the label murderer back into the identity of lover, believing that the intensity of his obsession should absolve him of its consequences. The tears are real. They are the tears of a man confronting the unmovable fact of his own monstrousness, not out of empathy for Billy, but out of horror at the permanent black mark now on his own self-image. The slamming door that interrupts this raw moment is the sound of the narrative shifting from a psychological study to a thriller. It transforms Theo's private guilt into a public vulnerability. The knowledge that someone now holds the truth is a threat more profound than any Todd could ever pose. This unknown listener becomes the sword of Damocles hanging over Theo's entire fabricated life. As Brooks suggests, this could make him more dangerous than ever. A controlled, calculating abuser is one thing. A guilty, paranoid, and cornered one is entirely another. The need to maintain his pillar of support act for Todd, Summer, and George will now be fueled by a new, desperate urgency to identify and neutralize this unknown witness before his secret explodes. Brooks's insight into Theo becoming an absolute rock for Todd's entire circle is chilling in this new context. This performative perfection is no longer just about masking abuse. It is now a critical strategy to mask murder. By embedding himself as indispensable, by being the one organizing support, managing grief, and holding the family together, he positions himself as beyond suspicion. Who would believe the grieving, supportive boyfriend capable of such a thing? This deepens his control over Todd in a profoundly sinister way. Todd's grief is now the very stage upon which Theo performs his innocence, making Todd's emotional dependence the key prop in his cover-up. This storyline's brilliance lies in its slow, realistic burn, its commitment to showing the ravaged interior of the abuser alongside the devastation of the victim. We are not watching a pantomime villain, but a complex, collapsing psyche. Theo's guilt does not make him sympathetic. It makes him exponentially more volatile and unpredictable. The coming episodes promise a terrifying tension. Will the witness come forward, plunging Theo into a desperate endgame? Or will the secret fester, making his control over Todd even more suffocating as he battles his internal demons and external paranoia? Ultimately, the coffin-side confession forces us to confront a disturbing question about the nature of evil. Theo Silverton is a man who drew a moral line at murder, only to cross it in a moment of possessive rage. Now, tormented by a conscience he didn't know he possessed, he is trapped between the monster he has become and the loving partner identity he clings to. The sound of that closing door didn't just startle Theo. It shattered the fragile illusion of his secret being safe. In the quiet of the funeral parlor, his guilt was given a voice. Now, on the volatile streets of Weatherfield, that voice threatens to find an echo, setting the stage for a reckoning where the abuser, for the first time, is the one living in genuine fear.